Hello humans, welcome back to Your Thoughts Are Valid and I hope you all are doing great. So today we are going to learn about referencing in psychological research and we are going to focus mainly on APA format. So let's move on to the video. So first let's just understand about referencing, what referencing is and why do we use referencing or why do we need referencing. So referencing is a set of rules that tells you how to acknowledge thoughts, ideas and works of others in a particular way. So referencing is nothing but a set of rules, which actually it's like a format given to you in which you have to express your thoughts, your ideas, and how you got inspiration from the work of others in a particular way. So it's like when you write a research paper, you write lots of reference of literature. So it's like you read a lot of papers, then you find out the gap in those research papers, like the things which are missing from those research papers, and then you might come with your own research where you try to fulfill those gaps, and then you have to cite those studies which you used for referencing, which you used while coming up with research question, or even to support your research findings, you refer to many research studies. So give credentials to those people who did that research, and you are taking the example of those research to support your research study. Those all come under referencing. So it's basically like a format, or we can say a set of rules to basically present your study, your thoughts, your ideas, and also to give credits to uh, all the researchers who have done other studies which you have mentioned in your paper. So why research paper writing is necessary? So it helps us in successful academic writing. Then it avoids plagiarism. Then it is like the key to your assignments and research. Different journals use different styles of referencing, or we can say format of bibliography, but most commonly used formatting for referencing is APA and MLA. APA is American Psychological Association and MLA is Modern Language Association. So what is reference style? A referencing style is a specific format for presenting in-text references, that is footnotes or endnotes, and bibliography. It is basically an act of referring. What is reference? So reference is the action of mentioning or alluding to something. Just telling that where you have, like, if you have written a sentence, so just mentioning where you read that sentence from, or what is the source of that statement or hypothesis, that is called as reference. The use of a source of information in order to ascertain something. Okay, so this is about reference style and reference. Now, let's understand why do we need to reference. So it proves that substantial research has been done to support our analysis. Okay, like whatever our analysis is. So if we are referencing properly, when our paper is referenced properly and in a proper way, and there are no mistakes in referencing, so it proves that substantial research has been done, which supports your analysis. It also enables others to follow up our own work, like whatever work you have done, that work would be useful for other researchers to refer and then come up with their own research related to that. Whatever research gaps are there in your research studies can be fulfilled by other researchers when they look up at your work. It also gives credit to other people's work, because to support your hypothesis, your theories in the research paper, you will have to give evidence that other studies also support your hypothesis, and then you give credit to those people, like whoever done that research. Then it avoids charges of plagiarism. Plagiarism basically means copying someone's work and claiming it to be your own. So basically, if you publish someone else's paper in your name, then it's like you will be charged with plagiarism. So that is like a crime in research work. So it avoids charges of plagiarism. It is very much possible that you just wrote a statement from someone other's research, some other research study, and then if you don't give credit to that person, then your paper will be considered as plagiarized. Usually 15% plagiarism is considered okay, but we should try to make our research paper 100% accurate, and uh, there should be no plagiarism involved. Then required to support all significant statements, like whatever statement you are going to mention in your introduction or your discussion, you will have to support those statements, stating whichever studies, suppose you wrote that alcoholism increases crime, then you will have to tell that what all studies supported this statement, what all studies which have been done previously supports this statement. So basically, to support all the statements you have mentioned in your introduction, your discussion, you will have to give the background for it, like give the evidence for it. Then it is used to indicate the origin of material and source for research and further reading. Okay, so it's like where was the research actually originated from? It will indicate that, and also what is the source, what are the sources, are the sources reliable or not, and also the future research studies that can be done. So these all are the things which are necessary. That's why we use referencing. Moving on. So there is a difference between reference list and bibliography. You might find bibliography in many research studies, but it is not always there. So let's understand the difference between reference list and bibliography. So what is reference list? It is a list of sources we have cited in our text, arranged in the order they appeared within the text. It is usually put at the end of our work, but it can also appear as a footnote at the bottom of the page or endnote at the end of each chapter, which serves a similar purpose. So, reference list is basically, you are mentioning all the sources you have cited in your text, but they are arranged in the order they appeared within the text. Suppose your first line in the research paper, the first statement is alcoholism increases crime. Then second statement is that substance abuse also increases crime. So you for that you have cited some studies. Suppose so your first statement is alcoholism increases crime. So whatever study you have mentioned there, you will put it at number one in your research paper, because that statement is coming first. Like alcoholism increases sorry yeah, alcoholism increases violence. So this is like the first statement. And then there is second statement that substance abuse also increases violence. So for just because the alcoholism thing is mentioned first in your reference list, the first thing would be of alcoholism. The first research paper which support that statement would be of alcoholism, not substance abuse. Because in reference list, we usually arrange all those in a particular order, in the order they have appeared in the text. Okay, if something is appearing in the like, suppose third statement is related to sleep disorders or anything, then that will in your reference list that will be on the third number. So it is usually put at the end of our work reference list, but it can also appear as footnote, which means like at the bottom of the page, or it can also appear at the end note, that is at the end of each chapter, which serves a similar purpose. Then there is bibliography. So bibliography is a separate list of sources we have consulted. Okay, we have consulted, not specifically cited. Like you have read a lot of research papers, so it doesn't really mean that you are quoting sentence from each of those research studies. Suppose you read around 50 research papers before writing your own research paper. So you might just use only 20 research studies to actually cite. I mean, you can only use the statements from 20 research studies, not from all the 50. So the like in bibliography you will have to mention those other research studies, and it just not and in bibliography it's not just about research studies, but it is also about books or magazines you have taken inspiration from. So it is basically sources you have consulted, not specifically cited in your work. It usually includes background reading. Okay, then it is arranged alphabetically, okay, by the author's surname. Okay, and it is arranged alphabetically by the author's surname. Now let's see some other differences between references and bibliography. References are those that have been referred to or referred or referenced in your article or book. Bibliography is about listing of all the materials that have been consulted while writing article, essay, or book. References, it basically includes all the items which are cited directly in the text. In bibliography, all the items may not be cited directly in the text. References can be used to support your statement or argument, or used to supplement your findings. Bibliography does not support your argument directly, as it is not cited. Then references can be used for establishing something in a more authoritative way. uh, in references, readers usually use these, like readers usually refer your references and evaluate the correctness of your statement. In bibliography, reader cannot clearly establish where a particular item of the bibliography is referred in your study. Okay, like it's not mentioned in the bibliography where you have used or where you have consulted that particular source from. Then in references contain sources of material like quotes or text which has been actually used when writing an essay or book. In bibliography contain all research materials including books, magazines, periodicals, websites, scientific papers which you have referred. References appear at the end of the book or article. Bibliography appear at the end of the book or article. Then both are available first reference list, and in bibliography both are available after reference list. Okay. Moving on, writing the references or bibliography. So there are many ways, there are many formats which you can use. First one is American Psychology Association, APA, which we are going to study in detail. Then there is Vancouver and Harvard style, then Campbell, then Modern Language Association, MLA, then Chicago Manual of Style Format, then Harvard Style of Referencing, and the last one is Royal Society of Chemistry Style. Now let's see some popular citation styles and who uses them. MLA. Stands for Modern Language Association. It is usually used in English, literature, foreign language, communications, religious studies. Okay, so like this format is used by people who are actually studying English, literature, foreign language, communications, or religious studies. They use this format whenever they are doing research paper. APA is used by psychology, education, business, economics, nursing, linguistic studies. Okay. Then Chicago is used by history, art history, fine arts, anthropology, philosophy. IEEE is used by engineering, computer science, information science, and CSE is used for biology, physics, chemistry, geology. Now let's understand APA. We are studying APA because we are going to learn how to reference paper in psychological research. So just because we are focusing on psychology, we have to study APA. So what is APA? It is the standard style used by scholars and students in the social sciences to cite sources. It is developed by American Psychological Association and it gives guidelines for formatting research paper and citing sources. So what are the types of APA papers? There are usually two types of paper. First is literature review, then second is experimental report. So in literature review, it basically contains a summary of what the scientific literature says about the topic of your research. It includes a title page, introduction, and list of references. What does experimental report contain? It basically describes your experimental research. It includes title page, abstract, intro, method, results, discussion, list of references, appendices, tables, and figures. Moving on, what is the general format of your essay should be? So first of all, it should be typed, not handwritten. It should be double spaced and it should be printed on the standard size paper, which is 8.5 inches to and 11 inches. 8.5 inches into 11 inches. Then there should be 1 inch margin on all the sides. You should use 10 to 12 uh, font size depending on which font you are using. Uh, like you can use calibri, you can use Times New Roman. There are others also which you can use. Then it includes a pager header that is title in the upper left hand of every page and page number in the upper right hand side of every page. And if you are writing a manuscript draft, EPA suggests using two spaces between sentences to aid readability. So things you should remember or you should always check before submitting is that font should be either Times New Roman. If you are using Times New Roman, then you should use 12 font size. If it is Calibri, then use 11. If it is Arial, then also use 11. There are other font also which you can use, but these are commonly used. Spacing should be double lined, 1 inch margin on all the sides, page number in the top right, and running head in the top left. Then what should be your point of view and voice? So you should try to use personal pronouns wherever it appropriate. Okay, like try to use we conducted an experiment instead of the authors conducted an experiment. Try to use active voice rather than passive voice. Like try to use we asked participants. Then and avoid the participants have been asked questions by the researchers. Okay, so try to use personal pronouns and try to use active voice. Then what is the general format of your essay? So it basically includes four major sections: title page, abstract, main body, and references. What is the title page? So on the title page, use insert page header, title flush left plus page number flush right. Okay. So wait, just 1 minute. Let me use annotation. Okay, so running head, you have to write the running head on top left corner, right? So here you will write the title of your study, okay? Whatever the title of your research paper is. And on the right hand side, you have to mention the page number. So this is the page number 1 because this is the title page. Then you have to write the title in the upper half of the page, okay? On the upper half of the page, you have to write the title. It should be centered. Then you have to write affiliation, okay, like university you are from, okay. So you have to write the title, that is name, and name plus affiliation, okay. name plus affiliation. I hope it is clear till here what you have to write on title page. Moving on, how to form your title page. So again, let me use annotation. So paper title you have to write on the upper left corner. Uh, okay, sorry. So this is about just a minute. Let me show you the previous slide. Yeah, so here we are talking about this part. Okay, in the next slide, we are just talking about this part. This part we are not covering. Here, I just told you that you have to write the title of your research paper and page number. Okay, now in the next slide, we will just talk about this part. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Yes, so you have to first write the title of your paper. Then you have to write the author's name. If it's you, write your name. Then you have to write the name of affiliation from wherever you are. Okay? Like if you are from Department of Psychology, write Department of Psychology and whichever university you are from. Then you have to write your course, which course you are from, and then who is your instructor, and what is the due date. Okay, this format is usually followed when you are writing paper as a part of your, masters or bachelor's, whatever course you are doing. This format is followed at that time. Moving on, levels of heading. So there are 5 levels of heading. First level is it should be centered, bold, and title case should be there. So text begins on a new line, indent first line. Then second level of heading is should be left aligned, bold, and title case. Text begins on a new line, indent first line. Third level of heading should be left aligned, bold, italic, and title case should be there. So text begins on a new line, indent first line. Fourth one should be indented, bold, title case, period. Okay, text begins on the same line. And fifth one is indented, bold, italic, title case, period, and text begins on the same line. So just remember that the third level of heading and fifth level of heading are italic. All the levels are bold and title case. Then second and third are left aligned, rest are centered. So yeah, and text begins on the same line only on fourth level and fifth level. Then moving on, abstract page. Okay, page header do not include running head. Then abstract should be centered at the top of the page. You basically have to write 150 to 250 word summary of your paper in an accurate, concise, and specific manner. Okay, so abstract is basically the summary of your paper. So as you can see, you have to write, like, there is the title of your paper on the left hand side and page number on the right hand side, and then there is abstract should be centered and at the top of the page it should be there. Then moving on, main body or text. So number the first text page as page number 3. Okay, so this is the first text page and it should be page number 3. It should be typed and center the title of the paper centered at the top of the page. Type the text double spaced with all sections following each other without a break. Then identify the sources you use in the paper in parenthetical in-text citations. So we will learn about parenthetical in-text citations in slides we are going to cover ahead. Then you should format tables and figures. This is about the main body or text. Then there is reference page. So here you have to center the title or references at the top of the page. Do not bold it, okay? Do not bold the reference, the heading reference, okay? Then double space reference entries. Then flush left the first line of the entry and indent subsequent lines, okay? Flush left the first line of the entry. Wait, let me explain this part. Yes. So this is on the left, right? So flush left the first line of the entry and then indent the subsequent lines. This is about each research paper you are going to mention. Okay. Then order entries alphabetically by the author's surname. So you have to order these entries alphabetically by author surname. Then moving on, references basics, invert author's name. That is, last name will be followed by initials. That suppose someone's name is JQ Smith. So you have to write Smith, comma, JQ. Then alphabetize reference list entries, the last name of the first author of each work. Okay, whoever is the first author of a research paper, his last name will be alphabetized. Then capitalize only the first letter of the first word of a title and subtitle. Only the first letter of the first word of a title and subtitle, the first word after a colon or a dash in the title, and proper nouns. Do not capitalize the first letter of the second word in a hyphenated compound word. Okay. If there is a hyphenated compound word, don't capitalize the first letter of the second word. Only the first letter of the first word will be capitalized, or the first word after a colon or a dash will be capitalized, and proper nouns also. Then capitalize all major words in general titles. Capitalize all major words in general titles. Also italicize titles of longer works such as books and journals. Do not italicize or underline or put quotes around the titles of shorter works such as journal articles or essays in edited collections. Then making the reference list. APA is a complex system of citation. When compiling the reference list, the strategy below might be useful. Identify the type of source. Is it a book or a journal or a web page? Find a sample of citing this type of source in the textbook or in the OWL APA guide. So this is the site where you can see that. Then mirror the sample. Then make sure that the entries are listed in the alphabetical order and the subsequent lines are indented. So recall references, whatever we read in the basics. So APA is a complex system of citation. When compiling the reference list, a strategy must be used. So first, identify the type of source, if it's a book or a journal or a web page. Then find a sample of citing this type of source in textbook. Then mirror the sample and make sure that the entries are listed in the alphabetical order. Moving on, basics of in-text citations. So what are the basics? In-text citations are brief references in the running text that direct readers to the reference entry at the end of the paper. You include them every time you quote or paraphrase someone else's ideas or words to avoid plagiarism. An APA in-text citation consists of author's last name and the year of publication, also known as author date system. If you are citing a specific part of a source, you should also include a locator such as page number or type stamp. Okay. So in-text citations are basically brief references in the running text that basically give direction to your reader to the reference entry at the end of your paper. So you include them every time you are quoting or paraphrasing someone else's ideas or words so that you can avoid the charge of plagiarism. And it usually includes author's name and date, like year of publication. For example, Who is the author? D'Souza is the author. So D'Souza, comma, 2021. The paper was published in 2021. And what is the example with page number? So suppose the paper was written by Mr. Smith. So Smith, comma, 2020. Like the paper was published in the year 2020. And on which page number, from which page number are you citing that particular sentence? So that would be page number 170. If okay, so I hope this is clear. This is the basic of in-text citation. Then what are the types of in-text citations? In-text citation can take two forms. It can be parenthetical or it can be narrative. What is parenthetical citation? According to new research. Okay, parenthetical would be like according to new research. Then you will quote it like Smith, comma 2020 in the bracket. And narrative citation would look like Smith notes that. So Smith, then you will mention the year the research published in. So this is narrative citation. Usually parenthetical citation is used. I hope it's clear till here. Then moving on, how to combine two or more citations. Okay, so let's first look at the first way. So here what did they do? In one bracket they mentioned one author, in another bracket they mentioned another author, then in third bracket they mentioned third author. So this is the wrong way. Okay, what is the right way? Right way is you have to see alphabet. First, you have to see whose name is alphabetically coming first. So in S, J, and M, which alphabets come first? J. So you will mention Jones, comma 2015. Okay, then you will use semicolon, and then you will see what is coming alphabetically next. So it is Matt Holmes. Suppose this, so Etel basically denotes that there are more than two authors. Okay, so that's why Etel is used. So this research study you will mention. So McCombs et al. 2017, and then Smith, then again semicolon because this is another research study, then comma 2020. This is the right format. Um, only one bracket will be used. In that, you have to mention the studies alphabetically. Okay. Alphabetically, you have to mention the studies. First Jones, then McCombs, then Smith. And use semicolon to separate the studies. Okay. Semicolon will be used to separate the studies. Now let's move on. One or more authors. The in-text citation changes slightly when a source has multiple authors or an organization is an author. Pay attention to punctuation and the use of the ampersand and ampersand symbol. Okay, so if there is one author, it's easy, right? You just have to mention Smith, comma 2020. Or in parenthetical citation. If it is narrative, then Smith, and in bracket you have to write 2020. If there are two authors, you have to write Smith and Jones, comma 2020, and in narrative citation, you have to just mention the year in the bracket. Other than that, yeah. So in parenthetical, you will use the symbol of and in narrative, you will use and the spelling of and, and in parenthetical, you will be using the symbol of and. Then if there are three or more authors, then you will use Smith at al, comma 2020. So just remember this part, okay? At al. So there is a dot after al, al. There is a dot after that, then comma. And if it is narrative citation, then there is al dot, and then you have to mention the year. If it is organization, then you have to mention McDonald's, comma 2020, and in narrative you have to mention the organization and in the bracket the year. So I hope it's clear. You have to be very careful while doing this citation, because otherwise our paper will be rejected. So this, remember it, especially for three or more authors. So you have to mention it like et al. Dot. Then moving on, when something is missing, when the author, publication date, or locator is unknown, take the steps below. So, if the author is missing, like you don't, you have studied a research paper, you want to cite that, but there is no author, then use the source title. Okay, use whatever the source title is, mention that, comma 2020, like the year of publication. Okay, if the date is missing, write n dot d dot for no date. Okay, write n dot d dot for no date. So Smith, comma n dot d dot. If page number is missing, either use an alternative locator or omit the page number. Okay, like you can use another locator, like if it is in the chapter third, just mention chapter three, or just don't mention anything, just mention the study, Smith, comma 2020. That's it. Moving on, in-text citation basics. So, in-text citation help readers locate the cited source in the references section of the paper. Whenever you use a source, provide in parentheses the author's name and the date of publication. For quotations and close paraphrases, provide the author's name, date of publication, and a page number. Then, when quoting, introduce the quotation with a single signal phrase. Make sure to include author's name, year of publication, page number, but keep citation brief. Do not repeat the information. Carrot 1996 states that a traumatic response frequently entails a delayed, uncontrolled, repetitive appearance of hallucinations and other intrusive phenomena. A traumatic response frequently entails of delayed, uncontrolled, repetitive appearance of hallucinations and other intrusive phenomena. Okay, so the first one denotes narrative citation, and this is parenthetical citation. Okay, I hope it is clear because we have studied about this before. I'm repeating this so that you have more examples to look up to, and also so that you can remember all the points. Moving on, provide the author's last name and the year of publication in parentheses after a summary or a paraphrase. Okay. Author's last name, year of publication after summary of or a paraphrase. For example, though feminist studies focus solely on women's experiences, they err by collectively perpetuating the masculine-centered impressions. After this, mention the research study in APA format. Okay. Moving on, include the author's name and signal phrase followed by the year of publication in parentheses. Recently, the study of warfare has been significantly revised by Higonet et al. 1987, Marcus 1989, and Red and Tate 1997 to include women's personal and cultural responses to battle and its resultant traumatic effects. Okay, so I hope it's clear till here. Moving on, when the parenthetical citation includes two or more works, order them in the same way they appear in the reference list. The author's name, year of publication separated by a semicolon. Okay, when parenthetical citation includes two or more works, suppose the same result is mentioned by two studies. So you will have to quote or reference both of the studies. So how will you do that? Order them in the same way they appear in the reference list. Okay. Suppose Kachru's study comes first, so you will have to mention that first. So Kachru, comma 2005, then Smith, comma 2008. So yeah, two studies are separated by semicolon. Remember this one. I have mentioned this before. Also, I'm mentioning it again so that you can remember. Moving on. Uh, when citing a work with two authors, use and in between author's name in the signal phrase yet and between their names in parentheses. Okay, like if you are using narrative citation, use A and D. If you are using parenthetical citation, then use the symbol of and. Okay, so yeah, I think it was pretty much clear. So here, and then you use narrative. You first you say that according to feminist researchers read in Tate, and then in bracket mention the year, and when you quote the sentence, then when the sentence ends, you mention the page number it is mentioned on. When you are using the parenthetical, you usually write everything in one bracket. So you will write read and Tate, comma 1997, comma page number 2. So moving on, when citing a work with three to five authors, identify all authors in the single phrase or in parenthesis. That is Herklau, Siegel, and Losey, comma 1999. Okay. So either you can do that, or in subsequent citations use only the first. Okay, so uh, like when you are using that research study for the first time in your paper, mention all the authors. Okay, like if there are three authors, mention all the three: Herklau, Siegel, and Losey, comma 1999. And in subsequent citations, like whenever you are going to use that study again for reference, use only first author's last name followed by et al dot in the signal phrase or in parenthesis. Okay. I hope this part is also clear. Moving on. When citing a work with six and more authors, identify first author's name followed by et al. So when there are six and more authors, even when you are citing the study for the first time, don't mention all the authors. Just mention the first author and follow it by et al dot, and then in the bracket the year. If you are using narrative citation, if you are using parenthetical, then again Smith et al. Dot comma 2006. Moving on, when citing a work of unknown author, use the source's full title in the signal phrase and cite the first word of the title followed by the year of publication in parentheses. Put titles of articles and chapters in quotation mark. Italicize titles of books and reports. Okay. Suppose there is like whatever the title of the article or chapter is, you have to write that in quotation. And if it is some book or some report, you have to italicize their titles. Okay. So you can either write according to Indiana Jones Federal Accountability System in bracket 2008. So if here you are mentioning Indiana Jones Federal Accountability System, and uh, you will use quotation marks. That, or you can just use Indiana within the quotation marks, comma 2008. Then, when citing an organization, mention organization first time when you cite the source in the single phrase or the parenthetical citation, like the data collected by the Food and Drug Administration, in bracket, mention the year, confirm that. If the organization has a well-known abbreviation, include the abbreviation in brackets the first time the source is cited. So you have to use it only the first time when you are using the when in the research, in your research paper, whenever you are using that study for the first time, mention it only that time, not when you are using it again, or not in the subsequent statements. So yeah, if the organization has a well-known abbreviation, include the abbreviation in brackets the first time the source is cited, then use only the abbreviation in later citations. Okay. If there is a famous, like the abbreviation of the organization is well known, then later in the study or in the subsequent statements where you have to cite that where you have to cite information from that particular research paper the organization has published. So you can use the abbreviation like FDA's expert. So for suppose Food and Drug Administration, so first time you will mention Food and Drug Administration, and in bracket you will write FDA. And in the following lines, you can use FDA's experts tested or FDA's experts said. So then you can use FDA. Okay. But if it is not like if it is not a famous or well-known abbreviation, then you have to mention Food and Drug Administration, then in bracket the year. Okay, you can't use abbreviation in that case if it is not well known. Moving on, when citing authors with the same last name, use first initials with the last name. Suppose two authors have same last name. What will you do at that time? You will use first initials with the last name. So you will use B. Kachru 2005, Y. Kachru 2008, separated by semicolon. Then when citing two or more works by the same authors published in the same year, use lowercase letters. For example, small a, small b, small c, with the year of publication to order the references. Like Smith's, and in bracket you will write 1998 A. Okay, suppose that author published 3 research papers. So for the first research paper you will mention A. For the second you will mention B. Moving on, when citing interviews, letters, emails, etc., include the communicator's name, the fact that it was personal communication, and the date of the communication. Do not include personal communication in the reference list. AP Smith also claimed that many of her students had difficulties with APA style, and then in bracket you will write personal communication, November 3, 2002. Okay, so here you can just write in the bracket that it was a personal communication. Or you can say E. Robbins, comma, personal communication, uh, comma, January 4th, comma, 2001. Okay, so these are the two ways you can cite. Then the citing sources, interview or email, basically some personal communication. Moving on, electronic sources. When citing an electronic document, whenever possible, cite it in the author date style. If electronic source lacks page number, locate and identify paragraph number or paragraph heading. According to Smith, bracket में year of publication, mind over matter section. Like suppose this is the heading of that para. So you will mention mind over matter section, paragraph 6. Okay. So this is how you will mention electronic sources. Moving on, APA headings. APA uses a system of 5 heading levels. So we studied this before also. We are studying this again. As I told you in the beginning that there are 5 levels of heading. So we are talking about that only. So yes, the first level is centered, boldface, uppercase and lowercase headings. Then second one is left aligned, boldface, uppercase and lowercase heading. Third one is indented, boldface, lowercase heading with a period. Then fourth one is indented, boldface, italicized, lowercase heading with a period. And fifth one is indented, italicized, lowercase heading with a period. Okay, so the fifth level of heading is also bold. It is mentioned wrong here. So even this one is bold. Okay. Don't get confused. I'm sorry for the confusion, but yeah, even the fifth level of heading is bold. All are written in bold. Okay. So yeah, please make this change. Then moving on, APA headings. Here is an example of the 5 level heading system. Okay, so look at the example. So level 1, as we said, level 1 is should be centered, boldface, uppercase and lowercase headings. So the first one is the first word is written in capital. then followed by small letters. Then yeah, so methods, that is level 1. So as you can see, it is centered, it is bold, and there are both uppercase and lowercase level letters. Then on level 2, we studied that it should be left aligned. Then it is left aligned, it is bold, it has uppercase and lowercase level letters. Then yeah, you can see that these two are level 2. Wait a minute, let me use annotations. Yeah, so you can see that these both are level 2. Then level 3. In level 3, what did we study? What it should be like? So we studied that it should be indented, it should be boldface, and lowercase heading with a period. So as you can see, it is indented. Okay. Then it is again bold, and also it is followed by a period. I think it is shown to, it is clear to you. Okay, like you can see level 2, then you can see level 3. So basically, indented means it should be edged. Okay, like, or we can say divided. Like, it means to begin a text with a blank space between it and the margin. There should be a blank space between it, between the text and the margin. Okay, so yes, you can see level 3rd is indented. Then result again, you can see level 1. Again, it is bold, centered, not followed by a period, uppercase and lowercase. Again, you can see level 2, level 3, and then we look at level 4. So in level 4, we studied that it should be indented, it should be bold and italicized, and lowercase heading with a period. So you can see there is a period. So these are the examples here. This is how you mention the headings. Moving on, label tables with an Arabic numeral and provide a title. The label and the title appear on separate lines above the table, flush left and single spaced. Cite a source in the note below the table. Okay, so it, whatever, like, you should label your tables with Arabic numerals, and it should provide your table a title. Also, the label and the title appear on separate lines above the table. It should be flush left and single spaced, as you can see here, right? Also, in note, you will have to you will have to cite the source in the note below the table from where you have, cited the table from. You will have to mention that. Then moving on, label figures with an Arabic numeral and provide a title. The label and the title appear on the same line below the figure, flush left. You might provide an additional title centered above the figure. Cite the source below the table and the title. Okay, I hope this one is also clear. Then additional APA sources include Purdue, OWL. So I will provide all these links in the description below, so you can refer it from there. So here are some additional APA sources which you can use while, referencing your research or study. Look at components of a reference entry. So what are the components? Author, publication date, title, source. Again, I'm repeating this so that, you can be clear with how to reference. So what are the 4 components of a reference entry? Author, publication date, title, source, listed in the order. Precise information included differs depending on the source type, if it is a book or a journal article. Then but these basic components are always included when available. So who is the author? Suppose Anderson is the author, so Anderson is the last name, so comma B is the first name, so Anderson comma B dot, in bracket you have to mention the year it is published, so the publication date. Then you have to mention the title, what is the title of that research paper or the book. So suppose it's research paper named Imagined Communities Reflections on the Origins and Spread of Nation. So you have to mention this in italics. And what is the source where you got this from? So the source is voice source. So you will mention that. How your reference list should look like. Okay, so there is section label. As you can see, references is the section label. Then it should be double spaced. Then there should be web page citation. If you are using some web page, you know, for any statement you have mentioned in your research study, then you should mention the web page citation. Then there should be hanging intent, which is 0.5 inch. Then there should be general citation if you are using generals for citation, and alphabetically sorted. All should be alphabetically sorted. So this is how your reference list should look like. Then the author element of a reference list is listed with the surname first, followed by initials and ending with period. When a source has multiple authors, up to 20 are listed in the reference. So in most cases, you will list all of them. Okay. For example, one author, Anderson.BA. Then if there are multiple authors, you will like nref, comma, w dot, then comma, then Stauder dot p dot d dot comma, then like this you will continue. Moving on, how to mention the date, year only. If you are using books and journals, then you will just have to use the year 2020. Full date, if you are using web pages, newspapers, or online videos, then you have to mention the full date, like 2020, November 20. If there is no publication date available, so N dot D dot. If there is retrieval date for online services that are continually updated, so you will have to write it like retrieved December 3, 2020 from this site. Okay. Then how to mention the title, italics for standalone sources like books, films, journals. Okay, like if you are mentioning some journal or book or film, then you will italicize the title, like statistical methods for psychology. Plain text for sources within sources, that is articles, chapters, or web pages. The evolving European model or sports finance. And you can use a square brackets to describe untitled sources. Okay, like photograph of a red. You will write this under square brackets. How to mention the source, book publisher, you can mention just like verso. If there is general issue, like if there is book publisher, just mention the name of the publisher. If general issue is there, then you will have to mention the title of the general issue. Then uh, then mention the link of that. Okay, if there is website, then you will mention the name of the website, then give the link to that website. If there is physical location, then you have to mention the physical location. Okay, moving on, how your reference entry should look like. So I think I have already told you this before, but yeah, we have looked at the first example already. This is done. So you can see this here. There is general is used here. It was the book. Here we use the book reference. This is the general reference. So here you used mention the authors, and since and you will use and sign while mentioning authors if there are two authors. Also, then you will mention the title, then the title of the journal, then you will mention the link of the study. Uh, if it is some website, then you will use this, you will name the site, then give the link to it. So I hope it's clear. Then moving on, how to find or generate APA references. So you can actually generate or find APA references. You can use sites like Scribble, Citation Machine. So I will give the link in the description below. Another easy way is using Google Scholar. when you are searching for your general article, you need to find this symbol. Can you see where the red arrow is pointing? So you have to find this symbol and choose APA and then copy and paste it to your document. Moving on, important terms and their meanings. These terms are often used in in-text citations, footnotes, reference citing, etc. OP.cite. It is the abbreviation for opus citatum, which means works cited. It refers to the reference listed earlier by the same author. There is one log.cit. Which means place cited. Loc means location. Cite means cited. So it is a footnote or endnote term used to repeat the title and page number for a given work. Then et al. It is referred to others and other colleagues. It is used when referring to a number of people. As you can see how it is used, log.cit.op.cit. So here, like, I think it is clear to you. So that is it for today's video. I hope referencing is clear to you. APA referencing is clear to you. I will mention this PPT and all the sources that I mentioned in this video in the description below. So you can refer to that. If you have any doubt, please do ask in the comment section. And thank you so much for watching the video.